Thanks to everybody involved in supporting the music here on KUVO. We're so happy to present to you the Javon Jackson Quartet with pianist Jeremy Manasseh, bassist David Williams, and drummer Billy Drummond. The Javon Jackson Quartet on KUVO. Great way to open the set with a tune called D-Town from Javon Jackson's most recent release with Peter Bradley, the original soundtrack and score. Great to have a fresh live version of that track from the KUVO studios, member-supported KUVO. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Steve Chavis, delighted to have with us here the Javon Jackson Quartet. And from something really new to something kind of old, a spiritual, arranged by Javon Jackson. Let's hear what they do with I've Been Buked. When they say play it with feeling, I think that's what they were talking about. I've Been Buked. It's the Javon Jackson Quartet from the Bonfils Stanton Performance Studio here at the corner of 21st and Arapahoe in downtown Denver. KUVO Studios, we're delighted that you're able to tune in and join us and enjoy this great performance. We want to welcome back to his hometown, Javon Jackson. Great to have you in the Mile High City again with this great set of players, pianist Jeremy Manasseh, bassist David Williams, and drummer Billy Drummond. And let's continue with the next selection called Holy Land. I think this one's perfect for our times. Cedar Walton's Holy Land, wasn't it? Boy, so nice, so nice. This is the Javon Jackson Quartet from KUVO's Bonfils Stanton Performance Studio. At the piano, Jeremy Manasseh. At the bass, David Williams. At the drums, David Drummond. At the saxophone, Javon Jackson. Feel good to be back in town?
Yes, sir. Very nice to be back, and it's always special feeling to be home. So I appreciate this unique experience to be here in the new KVO studios.
Exactly. How do you feel about one more?
If you insist.
We want to go to that Caribbean sound from the pen of bassist David Williams. This one is called Native Son to conclude this fabulous session with the Javon Jackson Quartet. Steve Chavis with Javon Jackson here at KUVO's Bonfils Stanton Performance Studio. Great to have you back in town.
Good to be with you.
Your history is, dare I say, charmed. Starting out with Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, an early project with Elvin Jones. Betty Carter produced a record with you. How do you get up close to icons like that early in your career?
Right. Well, fortunate. Starting with Art Blakey was kind of my American Express card to meet a lot of artists, and Elvin Jones being one of them at that time, and also Betty Carter during my time with Art Blakey. So after Art passing away and starting to do my first recording, which just included James Williams and Christian McBride. And James said, you should reach out to Elvin Jones. I had met Elvin Jones once. He had actually substituted for Art Blakey one time. So a little bit nervous to call him, but he was very gracious and supported me. And then from there, got to be a part of his musical group. And just such a dynamic and insightful and very giving human being, and just one who was always of support and service as a drummer and as a human being.
It sounds like that confidence you had as a musician overcomes some of the nervousness, and you just push through and make that phone call.
Right. Well, as James indicated to me at that time, what's the worst he could say?
Right.
Right. Which is probably yes.
And now you're in it.
Right. But, right, James was, again, another great mentor and teacher for me and many others. So being in New York and being in that nucleus of the Jazz Messengers tree, I met a lot of important folks. And even before that, right here in Denver, I was befriended by Branford Marsalis, who is literally, like a brother to me. So he was one that instilled inspiration and also support and willingness to really go outside of himself to help me and be available. And so I've always remembered that when he'd come in town with artists like Sting, or he was coming with Wynton and they were performing, he always carved out time in the day to come over my house and practice and talk music. So I always remember that to be available to other folks, because it really can pay it forward.
Someone wanted me to ask about the Pack and hanging out by that side door as a place with so much traffic, so many working musicians, so many national artists coming through town. That little side door, that little bar at 20th and Market, it did some special things. What a great, upbringing.
Absolutely. That was my springboard to meeting a lot of artists that I would later luckily play with. I think I met Cedar Walton. He stopped by in El Chapultepec one night, and I met him and the other artists that I would later get opportunity to know and work with. So it was a great opportunity to, every week, seemingly there was some national artist that would come in. And then if an artist came in town and they felt inclined, they'd come by, which is Branford and Wynton. If they came in town, they'd come by, which they love to play all the time. So they would come by and play. So it was a great environment, and it gave me something to, as a young person, to constantly realize what I couldn't do and what I needed to go home and work on. So maybe make one step forward and then realize that I had to go back 4 or 5 steps and then start the journey forward again. So, yeah, every town or city, I'd like to think, during that time had El Chapultepec, but for me in Denver, and there was a few other venues here, but that was the unique mainstay for Denver.
Javon Jackson here with me, and I'm so happy to get a couple of minutes with you. It seems like you're very curious, because your collaborations are so diverse, from Frank Zappa to Al Green. And I got to tell you, you took me down this rabbit hole of Serge Gainsbourg, the French vocalist. I mean, 30 minutes later, I'm like, what have I just done? And here he sings, and then the saxophone comes in. You've got a really wide, I think, broad interest in music, or your saxophone fits a lot of places. How do you look at it?
Wow, it's a great question. I think that a lot of us love to listen to many different styles, and then some of us maybe make the decision, well, hey, why not step out on the wild side and see what kind of rendition we can do of some of these artists who are major composers in other places. So Frank Zappa or Sage Gainsbourg, or Caetano Veloso, or Al Green. I grew up in a family that we heard a lot of that kind of music. Yeah. Curtis Mayfield and Bobby Womack. So I felt
they're
like
probably on the list of which you could have. That would have been awesome.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Right. There's a palette there for me to try some different things, and I think doing that also helps me to kind of find myself in a way. We have these great masters in this art form, and many of my heroes that I've owe them a lot of money because I've really tried to emulate and imitate and try to grab from them. And so as you start to listen to different places to kind of build your house, if you will, it allows me to just kind of create my own kind of path.
You are, at least as I can see, fortunate in another way as to just make a living in this music, to be a professor at the University of Hartford, to have built your own record label, Solid Jackson Records. But boy, the music business has changed about 3 or 4 times since you got into it, 4 or 5 times. It's still changing. How do you keep up with downloads and streams and TikTok? Javon Jackson's on TikTok. Did you see his thing? How do you do all that?
Well, I've never been on TikTok.
It's coming, man. I'm telling you.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's not a great place to sell oneself and to be part of what's going on. I just haven't engaged in that aspect. But you're right. There's different things that the musician of today has to be aware of, and she and he have to be willing to join in if you want to stay in the game. So, right, I had a fortunate career to do recordings on the Blue Note label and on Palmetto, Crisscross, and one for Smoke Sessions, and then also with Chesky Records. But I just said, well, why not try to do something on my own in the way of my own CD, and so that started kind of humbly some years ago. And again, it's something I watched Branford do with his label, Marcellus Records. So I felt like, wow, let me give that a shot. And it's been very rewarding and a great learning process for me to see how it works from that other side. And it's not like I'm a mogul, but I'm trying to find a way where we create the budget and we go in and we manufacture. I'm luckily, I have someone that licenses. So Megaforce licenses the products that we've done recently, the Nikki Giovanni product, and then the with Peter Bradley soundtrack. And then we're going back in the studio later this month. Myself and Nikki Giovanni are doing another recording. So it is wonderful to have these outlets.
I was just going to say the Nikki Giovanni project was so celebrated, nominated for an Image Award. This project, your current one with Peter Bradley, soundtrack, I read in your bio in 2009, you did the soundtrack for an Alfred Hitchcock silent film commissioned by the Syracuse Film Festival. Is there anything from that soundtrack experience that helped you apply it to With Peter Bradley?
A lot. Well, during that time, I don't know if the Syracuse Film Festival, International Film Festival does it, but every year they allow a musician to come in and write a score, an original score to a silent film of the director and the chosen composers, what they agree upon. So for myself, in that year, when I got the opportunity, I was elated that they commissioned me to write an original score, and I ended up doing Alfred Hitchcock's, The Lodger, which was really fun. Obviously, in this situation, I didn't have opportunity to dialogue with the filmmaker. So they just stripped the original score, which at that time I didn't even want to hear it. They just stripped it. And then it
just
was
rinky-tinky piano. That's all you're going to do.
well,
Just write that up.
And what we ended up doing, the way it works, is you perform the score live with the group in front of us, like 1,000-seat theater, and the music of the film is above you.
Wow.
So we played it, and the film was, I think, 1 hour and 42 minutes. And so the music with sound of film, there's not much dialogue, some words. So it required to have music pretty much throughout. And that's actually where I first met Jeremy Manasseh. I reached out to Jeremy, and he played piano on that, the performance and all the rehearsals, which were strong, long, and somewhat tedious. But that was a great experience for me, absolutely. So you learned a lot from that opportunity. I think once I got through that and saw some success, then it got me to want to have more opportunities. And then I was a lot more, it was more desirable for me.
When I listen to With Peter Bradley, it is very cinematic. I envision the artist at his, remote studio in the woods somewhere. I envision his life and his energy. And I haven't seen the film yet, but I'm very captured by what you did with the score.
I appreciate it. Peter Bradley was a friend of Art Blakey's, so that's when I met Peter. But at that time, he never discussed that he was an abstract painter. He was more involved or interested in talking to me about music and clothes. So we would get together and go around Manhattan and talk about music and go to clothes shops. We really never discussed his craft. We were busy talking about the artists that we revered in this art form. And then many years went by after Art Blakey passed. We ran out of touch. We didn't see each other. Then I ran into him. And then I found out that he was living up in Saugerties and that he was painting every day. And I went up and saw his studio, and I said, oh, wow. And at that same time, someone was doing a documentary, and then the filmmaker and the family asked me if I would be interested, and I said, absolutely. I was elated. So I was appreciative of that opportunity, which have led to other writing opportunities. And again, there's been so many trailblazers in the last, say, 25, 30 years. Obviously, Terrence, and he's my man because I spent some time with him, a little bit of time when he would come back and play with the Jazz Messenger. So him and some other artists that have been doing fantastic work, Stanley Clarke over the years, and Marcus Miller, and a lot of others that are doing these things. So it has really opened up opportunities for others like them, for maybe myself. So I'm appreciative and watching and learning from them.
Congratulations on a great project and for whatever's coming next, because you continue to push the envelope, keep us interested, play great saxophone, put us in the mood, all the stuff that big horn over there does. You're doing it, and we're grateful.
I appreciate the words. It means a lot.
Javon Jackson.
Thank you.
Thank you.